Hey guys, it's me, Liv. I hope everyone's doing good out there. So, I was recently watching a video over at Nancy Stamps and she showed our DIY on how to create your own type of stamping aid. This is where you make something that helps with the pressure that you need sometimes on your MISTI. So, I've been seeing a lot of using glitter, but I think you can use alcohol inks because I do remember seeing videos where you used alcohol inks on glass and you were able to color it that way. So I'm going to give this a shot. Never tried this before, but I figured it can't be that hard in the worst case scenario. I'll just figure something else out. So the first step is going to go ahead and take your saran wrap that you're going to put down underneath the glass orb. I'm using a lid from an old Yankee candle that I had. And then I'm going to go ahead and take out some of my alcohol inks. I took out this blue one, squirted it all over the saran wrap. Then I'm going to take out a pink one, and here is where it went slightly wrong, but it's okay because I do end up liking the color. I didn't really think about that when I was putting it together, how the colors would mix together, because it didn't really have anything else to absorb into. So I ended up with this pink, red, and blue here that merged together and created a purple when I went to go put it on top of the lid. So I'm just placing the lid here, and you literally are just going to wrap it up in the plastic wrap. Now, alcohol ink generally dries pretty quick. So you're just going to take that and make sure you get it all around as much as you want. Get into those little crevices so that you can make sure that the alcohol ink absorbs to all of that. And as you can see, my colors all ended up blending together. So I would suggest that you probably only stick to one color. If you have a very large project you're doing, like a vase, this could work having multiple colors. But because it's such a small surface, it really didn't make sense. I then decided to try to add a little bit more color on the ends so I can get some ink inside of the candle as well, inside of the candle lid. So I put this blue, and then I'm just going to stuff it in. This was literally on here this is real time, so this is literally on here maybe a minute or two onto, and it just absorbs right into the glass. So it is kind of cool. Now, if you're wondering what I have underneath, I actually just have some rice paper underneath it because I figured if it's going to bleed, that's perfectly okay. It's a messy project. Wear gloves if you prefer, because I am going to just let whatever happens on that rice paper and create another project with that alcohol ink that absorbs into the rice paper. So once I've gone ahead and made sure that the surface is all covered, I'm now going to take it all off, and let's see what it comes out with. So what do you guys think? Flip it over, and there it is. Now, again, alcohol ink on glass absorbs very well. And you can actually save the saran wrap like you see me doing here. I'm just patting it onto this rice paper. I'm going to let that sit for a while. That's going to be a project for a whole nother video, so let's not worry too much about that. Now, I generally don't show you cleanups, but I just wanted to give you a quick tip in case you need it if you're playing with alcohol inks and you have something light underneath it. Good old-fashioned rubbing alcohol will pick this all up if you're using a glass mat like you see. Comes up super easy with that glass mat. I do have some glue residue still left on my glass mat from another project. I'll get to that another day. But I just wanted to give you that quick tip if you were looking for something to soak up that ink before it gets all the way through into your glass mat. Now, even though alcohol ink does absorb pretty quickly, I did let this sit for a couple of hours to make sure that it wasn't sticky at all. Then I'm coming back to finish off the project. I'm going to go ahead and just take a piece of cardboard that I have from my stash. I believe this is a shipping cardboard that I had, but it was pretty thick. So I'm going to go ahead and take the shape of the circle and trim it out. Then I'm going to, once I have that trimmed out, and I actually want to make it slightly smaller than what I drew because I know that I was a little bit generous in my drawing of my circle. And then once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and get out some felt. I only had pink felt, so if you're wondering why it doesn't match, that was all I kind of had. So I just had to work with what I had in my stash here. But you kind of see, you just trim it out to whatever it may be. You can use whatever shape you want, but it is pretty clever to go ahead and use a lid from an old candle. Now here's that piece of felt. I'm doing the same exact thing, taking my circle, tracing it out, then trimming it out once I have traced it all along. Now, in order to glue this down, I figured that the hot glue was going to work the best. So I have plugged in my heat gun and I'm letting it heat up on the side here so that it could be ready for this project. If you are going to be all color coordinated, you can either pick a solid color that matches better with your project. Keep that in mind. Actually, this is left over from my daughter's sewing class that she has in her high school. So lucky for me, she has that class right now, and then I actually have some felt. So why do you need the felt? You need felt underneath this type of tool that you're using because it's meant to slide, and since the felt will allow you to slide. So you want something like felt that's going to work for this kind of project. Now once I've gone ahead and cleaned up, I'm going to actually move on. And as I'm sitting here staring at this topper, I realized it's kind of annoying me that I keep seeing this logo here on top. So I started to think, what can I do to cover this up? I really wasn't planning to use any glitter at all, but I figured, you know, I don't really want the logo to be so prominent. So I'm going to go ahead and take some permanent adhesive sheets that I have. I have some from Scissors. I'm again going to trace out the top. I'm going to actually make it a little bit smaller because I really only want it to cover the Yankee Candle. So I'm going to be trimming it on the inside of it. And so once I have that trimmed out, I am going to use this. Now I find I like to use these permanent adhesive sheets better with glitter than playing with any actual glue. You will see me use a little bit of glue to try to finish off the edges a bit. But when I'm using glitter, I do find that these adhesive sheets really are very helpful. I especially love the one from Elizabeth Crafts. I don't think I have any in my stash right now, but this was one that I've easily had. So now that I've trimmed that out, I'm just going to go ahead and tape that onto the top. Now, again, this is a double-sided adhesive, so all you have to do is just really peel off one side, rub it on really good to the surface that you're working with. You will see a little bit of crinkles, and that was just really from my malplacement. Hopefully the next time you guys do this, it would be a little bit neater if you tried something like this for yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and peel it, and now you'll see that there is a layer of that permanent adhesive. Now I find glitter absorbs really well into this type of tape, so that's why I like to use it. So once I've gotten that all down, I'm going to go ahead and take out some purple glitter that I have. This is from Wow. I have this in a coffee filter just to capture any loose glitter that comes onto the side, since I'm being pretty generous with adding this on. Now the other thing to do here when you're working with this type of tape here, or I guess this glue surface that you have here, go ahead and sprinkle it all around. Be generous, don't worry about it. Pour any excess into your coffee filter, and then you can do what we call varnishing. So kind of really rubbing it in to that surface so you can make sure that it sticks and it's not going to constantly come off when you're using it. Now I realized when I trimmed this out, I missed a couple of places on my circle, so I'm just taking out my art glitter glue. I'm trying to put a very light layer on there to the edges so that it makes a little bit more of a complete circle, and go ahead and put that on. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of using glue, but in a pinch, that's kind of all you have. Make sure it's a super thin layer so that it doesn't bulge up on you when you can. And then you can just go ahead and put that glitter right along the edges to really make sure that it is more uniformed. Or just be a better cutter than I was. So once I have that all down, now that that's all done, it's time to start finishing the assembly. So here I have my hot glue gun. I'm going ahead and putting this around the trim. I am taking my cardboard piece and putting it down first. Then I'm going to go ahead, make sure you push it all along the edges so that it holds really well. Then I'm going to take my felt and do the same thing. Go ahead and put some hot glue on it. First I was putting it on the felt, but I realized it was probably easier just to go ahead and put it directly onto the cardboard piece. I'm being pretty generous with this hot glue. Then I'm going to put this felt piece, make sure I'm putting good pressure on it, and that it stays nice and even. So there it is. This is pretty much the finished project. Now I want to take the chance just to show you guys how to use it if you haven't seen one of these. It really is just for that, just to help glide across so you don't have to push down so much with your hands, and this helps give a little bit more pressure evenly. So I'm taking out a stamp. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it the way I usually do. And I am actually using watercolor paper because I find that that is a little bit harder to stamp on. So normally I just take my fingers, I press down, as you can see. I get a pretty good image, you know, not a problem there. But now I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to go ahead and stamp it again, this time using my aid here. And I'm going to see if it helps with getting a crisper image. One, it's a little bit easier on the hands. You're not feeling like you're putting so much pressure down. And I do find that it is a lot crisper than my other one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll clean it up a little bit off camera, but I hope it was helpful. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you soon. Take care.